If you've seen my previous video about a prophetic manga from Japan, you'll know that prophecies are no small matter. But what if I told you that this time, an American seer made a chilling prediction for the year 2025 that could completely change the course of humanity? You won't want to miss this one, because what I'm about to share will send shivers down your spine. This prophecy is not only foretelling a pivotal moment in human history, but one that may alter the very fate of our world. So, what exactly does this prophecy say? Let's dive into the mystery in today's video. Buckle up, because things are about to get really interesting. But before we start, I'd suggest you like and subscribe now. Trust me, you'll want to stick around for this one. Have you ever wondered, just for a moment, what it would be like to know your future? Imagine you're given a glimpse of the road ahead. Would you want to see it? Or would you prefer to let life unfold as it will, without peering into the unknown? It's a deceptively simple question, isn't it? But if you had the chance to see a tragedy coming, would you still want to know? Or would you rather live in blissful ignorance? Let's rewind the clock to the early 1940s, where we meet a woman who didn't just ask these questions, she lived them. Her name was Jeane Dixon, and she possessed a strange and unexplained gift. Jeane wasn't just any ordinary woman. She was a seer, someone who could predict the future with uncanny accuracy. From the moment she spoke, she could reveal the details of a person's life, their future job, the day they would meet their soulmate, and even the exact moment they would depart this world. Her prophecies weren't just vague predictions. They were specific, undeniable, and deeply unsettling. One of her most famous prophecies came in January 1942, in the midst of a bustling beauty salon in America, frequented by Hollywood's social elite. Jeane approached Carole Lombard, a well-known actress at the height of her career, with a tense expression. She told Lombard in a quiet, urgent tone, "Please, I know this may sound strange, but in the next 6 months, do not fly. If you do, your life will be at risk." At first, Carole brushed off the warning with a polite smile. "I'm flying in just a few days," she said, "but don't worry, I'll be fine." Little did she know, this innocent response would be her last. Just 6 days later, on January 16th, 1942, Carole's plane crashed into a mountain. All 22 people aboard, including Carole, perished in the crash. Jeane Dixon's prediction had come true, and yet the world had dismissed her as nothing more than an eccentric. But this wasn't the only time Jeane's foresight would come to life. In 1944, when President Franklin D. Roosevelt was at the height of his power, his health was rapidly deteriorating. It was during this time that Roosevelt reached out to Jeane, asking her for a prediction. "How much longer do I have in this role?" he asked her. Jeane, without hesitation, replied, "No more than 6 months." In April 1945, just as she had predicted, Roosevelt passed away, and his successor, Harry S. Truman, took office. This prediction was just one of many that Jeane Dixon made, some of which would shake the world to its core. But Jeane's story doesn't stop there. Her gift had begun to show itself at an early age. Born in 1904 in Wisconsin, Jeane was raised in a Catholic family. At just 5 years old, she made an eerily accurate prediction about the arrival of a funeral announcement. an envelope with a black border, which she had described in vivid detail. 10 days later, the letter arrived, confirming her prediction. Jeane's grandfather had passed away. As she grew older, Jeane's prophecies became more frequent, more precise. At age 7, she described in detail a black and white dog her father would bring home, a dog no one had mentioned. Sure enough, a few days later, her father returned with a black and white dog that matched her description exactly. When she was just a young girl, Jeane met an Egyptian palm reader who predicted that Jeane would one day be a great prophet, able to see across time. She handed Jeane a crystal ball, and when Jeane touched it, something incredible happened. In a soft voice, Jeane warned the woman, "Be careful with the stove. You're about to get burned." Just days later, the woman suffered a kitchen accident as predicted. But perhaps the most astonishing prediction of all was her forecast regarding Winston Churchill, the British Prime Minister during World War II. In 1945, Churchill visited the United States and sought out Jeane Dixon. "Will I be re-elected?" he asked. Jeane, without hesitation, answered, "No. Fate has a different plan for you." A few months later, Churchill lost the election, proving Jeane's foresight once again. However, it was her chilling prediction about the assassination of President John F. Kennedy that forever cemented Jeane Dixon's place in history. In 1956, she wrote about a dark cloud hanging over the White House and foresaw Kennedy's death. She even described the assassin's name. A man with a name starting with O, the second letter S, and a hook-shaped letter at the end. On November 22, 1963, the unthinkable happened. Kennedy was assassinated in Dallas, and the name Lee Harvey Oswald, which Jeane had described in vivid detail, flashed across the TV screen. But despite these eerily accurate predictions, Jeane Dixon's most unsettling prophecy was about the year 2025. In her book, The Call to Glory, published in 1971, she described a terrifying vision of a global war, not fought with bombs and bullets, but with disease. She warned of a crisis that would halt the world, shutter economies, and claim millions of lives. When the COVID-19 pandemic hit in 2020, many wondered if this was the beginning of the war Jeane had foreseen. But that was just the start. According to Jeane's visions, the year 2025 would bring a bloody conflict, not in Europe, but in Asia. A war between two superpowers, China and Russia, with the fate of the world hanging in the balance. In Jeane's vision, China emerged victorious. Now, as we find ourselves in the early months of 2025, we are witnessing a different kind of conflict, an economic standoff between the United States and China. Could Jeane's prophecy have been misinterpreted? Is this trade war the turning point she warned about? But it doesn't end there. Another prophetic figure, this time a Japanese manga artist named Tatsuki, also foresaw something catastrophic for 2025. In her graphic novel, The Future I Saw, published in 1999, Tatsuki described 15 prophetic dreams, 14 of which have already come true. The final dream predicts a disaster far greater than Japan's 2011 earthquake, set to occur in the South China Sea in July 2025. A new landmass will rise from the ocean, connecting Japan with Taiwan, Hong Kong, and the Philippines. Moreover, in 2022, a man claiming to be a time traveler from the year 2062 posted a warning on a popular internet forum. He urged people to prepare for something unprecedented in the South China Sea in July 2025. Could this be the same event predicted by Tatsuki and Jeane Dixon? Jeane Dixon once said, "Yes, there will be war, but at the same time, a person of boundless love and compassion will emerge. This person will reconnect the severed threads between humanity and lead them toward final peace. Perhaps 2025 will bring turmoil, but perhaps, just perhaps, in that long night, a light will emerge at the end of the road." So, what do you think? Could 2025 truly be a turning point in history, as Jeane Dixon and others have predicted? Or is it all just a series of coincidences? The future remains uncertain, but one thing is clear: the warnings are there. Will we heed them, or will we let history repeat itself? If you've ever had a strange premonition, a dream you couldn't explain, or a feeling that something bigger is at play, let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more stories like this. I'll see you in the next video.